My name's Eric, and this is the story of how I went from $500 to $10 million. I'm not famous, I did not invent anything crazy, but I built something that now helps thousands of people make a real side income. And to be honest, I'm not someone who loves telling this story, and it feels a little bit arrogant sometimes, but I've been through a lot, and these are real lessons here that anyone trying to escape the rat race can use. So here it is. This is how I went from $500 to $10 million in just 5 years. I grew up in Wayne, New Jersey, which is a middle-class town about 15 miles outside of New York City. My dad worked in Manhattan, and every single day I watched him endure a brutal commute. An hour, 20 minutes there, and an hour, 20 minutes back. 3 hours of his life every single day just commuting, and it lit a fire in me. I did not want that. I wanted to build something where I could work from home, have freedom, and never do that kind of grind. The first time I ever made money on my own was actually in 5th grade. My friend David and I entered the school talent show, and we did a magic act. We built a cardboard box trick where I popped out like I disappeared, and the crowd went nuts. After that, younger classes started to invite us to perform, then parents started to hire us for birthday parties, and even assisted living facilities found out about us as well and did the same thing. We were about 10 years old, making about $100 for a 30-minute show. Crazy, and I loved it. And that's where I fell in love with entrepreneurship. But by high school, I actually dropped it because people were making fun of me, and I got into sports instead, and football changed everything for me. It taught me discipline, teamwork, how to push myself, but my hunger to build something on my own never went away. My senior year changed everything, and one day I heard a kid at Wayne Hills bought his own brand new $30,000 sport Toyota Corolla in cash at 17 years old. I was blown away, and I had to know what he did. So through a mutual friend, I got introduced to him, and I asked him, "What job do you have that pays so much money?" And he said, "I flip sports cards." And I was like, "What? There's no way, no chance." So he invited me over, and I saw it. He was buying cards raw on eBay, grading them, and flipping them for a profit, 40 to 60% returns consistently. And this was back in 2015 before sports cards blew up. But after seeing Dylan's setup, I took $500 and I bought my first card, which is a 2009 Bowman Chrome Steven Matz orange refractor autograph. Back then, Steven Matz was a top pitching prospect for the New York Mets, and I mailed it to Dylan's friend in Texas, who hand-delivered cards to Beckett, the grading company, every Friday. I paid $20, and the card came back a Beckett 9.5. I listed it on eBay, and it sold for $888, a $300 profit on my first deal, and it changed my life, because up until that point, I was working about 4 to 5 hours a day to make about $60 to $100 in cash, which isn't bad, but with cards, I just clicked some buttons and made hundreds of dollars, and I became obsessed. I kept flipping cards even when I started college, and then in October of 2016, something happened that changed everything for me again. So I was scrolling on Craigslist late one night instead of studying like I should have been, and I found a vintage sports card lot, and at that point, I was only flipping modern cards, stuff like Marcus Mariota, Derek Carr, Todd Gurley, but this vintage lot had Hank Aaron's, Babe Ruth's, and I didn't know what I was looking at, so I called Dylan, and Dylan at the time went to University at Pittsburgh, and the next day, he drove all the way to New Jersey, picked me up, we drove up to Torrington, Connecticut to see this collection. It was in a shop called My Mother Threw Mine Away. The owner, his name is Jack, had been given the collection by a local family whose grandfather passed away, and Jack didn't care to flip them. He actually wanted to offload his inventory and retire. He showed us boxes of commons, and then there was a separate pile of cards, and in this pile there were Babe Ruths, there was Mickey Mantles, there were Hank Aaron's, Willie Mays', and we brought all the cash we could. Dylan had $7,500 and I had $7,500, so we had a total of 15 grand, and we negotiated for hours. We'd walk back in, we'd walk back out, we would talk, back in, back out, and then eventually we bought everything for $11,500, and when we got home, we organized the lot. We sold all the common cards that were not worth grading for 6 grand to a buyer we knew, and then graded the big cards. They were in rough shape, but they were still pretty valuable. Mantles, Aaron's, Willie Mays', and we spent $1,500 on grading, and we ended up selling these cards through Facebook's, shows, word of mouth, and the total sales was $39,000. So we made a $26,500 profit. I took my cut and bought my first car, which I still have today, a black Chevy Camaro. Yeah, it was stupid, but it proved to me that my own effort actually created something real. And through the rest of college, I kept flipping cards, obviously. Made a few thousand a month pretty consistently, and I was studying finance and statistics heading into my senior year. And I figured, you know what, let me try the corporate route. Let me get an internship. So I got a summer internship heading into my senior year, and I was a financial analyst at a medical device company in Parsippany, New Jersey. And I lasted 5 days. I hated it. I sat in a cubicle, hated the vibe, hated everything about it. I remember I quit. June 6, 2018, my 21st birthday, I got drunk at Bar A in Belmar, New Jersey. The next morning, hungover, I said to myself, I need to start a business before I graduate. I cannot do corporate. So I started researching businesses online. In September, I tried Amazon FBA. I lost about $10,000. I kept flipping cards to cover these losses. And in January, I found dropshipping. I spent months failing until April of 2019. I tested some colorful women's sandals. I made about $100 in sales in one day off $20 in ad spend. Pretty profitable. I scaled it, and by May, I had $60,000 in sales at a $15,000 profit, and I thought I made it. I thought I was the man, and then disaster happened. Refunds started to roll in, and I had my supplier express ship me a pair of sandals, and it was a total scam. What they sent to customers was not what was advertised, and from June to July, I watched the $50,000 I saved from flipping sports cards vanish. Everything I made from sandals, cards, gone. I had no business, no degree, nothing. So I went back to what I knew, flipping cards. I started to go to shows again, and I would borrow $10,000 from my brother. I'd promise him $10,500 in 7 days. I'd go to a show, buy some cards, flip them, make a little bit of money, repay my brother, and I would do it again and again and again, and I rebuilt from the ground up. Around this time, I actually reconnected with John, my old college housemate, and we actually had a mutual interest in digital marketing. So we started working together, and first we tried starting a real estate marketing agency, and nothing happened naturally. And in December of 2019, I said to him, you know what? Let's lock in, let's figure this out, let's lock ourselves in a room. And we did it. And still nothing was working until March of 2020. And that's when COVID hit, and sports cards exploded. And John, what he did is he actually commented under a Gary Vee tweet, and he asked, would anyone want to learn how to make money flipping cards? And instantly, he got 20 plus DMs. He showed me this, and I actually said to him, that is a stupid idea. Nobody's ever going to pay us to learn sports cards. But we tried it anyways. We built a simple funnel, a website, an ad. We posted a photo of me and Gary Vee. The ad said, do you want to learn how to make money with sports cards? And bang, our calendar filled up instantly. In month one, we made $80,000 in profit, and then naturally it all crashed. And for the next 3.5 years, we spent 12 hours per day grinding, making no money. Our bank account never went up. And eventually, I discovered what a webinar was. And I started doing these live trainings, teaching people how to flip cards and actually giving real value and getting people real results before they ever paid us. But from March to September of 2023, we scaled again, started to make some money. And then we took this live webinar and tried to automate it and turn it to an automated recording. And once again, we lost everything. Over $500,000 in cash we made, gone. We regrouped. We started to only focus on grading cards, just one model. We started to teach just one specific way to make money with cards, and that's when things started to click again. People started getting huge results, and they started to tell their friends. Referrals started to flood in, and we started to post content. That word of mouth spread. And by late 2023, we were doing multiple six figures per month. And what we ended up doing is moving to Tampa. We built an in-house team, coaches, sales, energy, everyone rowing in the same direction. And today, we've helped nearly 4,000 people build a real side income with sports cards. And we're pacing for over $10 million this year just with Major League Profits alone. And we're just getting started because our vision is to actually turn this into Side Income University. Not just cards, but coins, stamps, comic books, vintage video games, any collectible you can make a side income, we're going to teach it. Real money, real skills. And this is not about getting rich quick. It's about building something real, safe, and scalable. So that's my story. If you're still watching, here's my advice. Don't take financial advice from someone who is not where you want to be financially, right? You wouldn't ask your history teacher a math question. You'd ask your math teacher a math question. The same thing should apply with finances. Only ask someone a question about finances if they're where you want to be in life, okay? That's number one. Number two, this is simple, but don't expect a different life if you keep doing the same thing, right? Go to your job, Netflix, sleep, repeat. If you keep repeating the same cycle over and over again, nothing's going to change. You have to make a move. And when I first started flipping sports cards, my parents thought I was nuts. They told me not to do it, but thankfully I didn't listen, and I love them, but they're not where I financially want to be in life. So why would I take financial advice from them? And not listening to my parents changed my life forever. So I hope this helped you in some way. Like, comment, subscribe, and